10 years behind you. That's what's going on. I'm finally learning stuff that you said 10 years ago. I'm finally, some of us are slower than others.
Like what?
Oh,
not to pay attention to things people say on social media.
Baby killing is bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What took me so long? What took me so long?
Hey, you're not alone on that.
What took me so long? Sevan, I told you that 10 years ago. You shouldn't. You shouldn't kill babies. I know. Fuck. I know. Hey.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you. I'm slow. Oh, look at my live stream to Facebook just isn't working. I bet you that's what's going on here. Hey, where are you? I like your background. I like your outfit. I like everything about you right now. Look at you.
You like my style?
Yeah.
I'm in my office at home.
And in what state is that?
North Alabama, in Huntsville. Actually, just outside of Huntsville.
So, when I knew you, you moved. When I knew you, I think you moved there, and you've always been there. Did you used to live in Santa Cruz for a second, or no?
Yeah. We lived in Capitola for like 2 years.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, we moved back here when my wife was having crazy health problems, and we just needed to be near family. So that was like 2013, 2014. We came back here.
And that's where that's where you were born?
No, I was born in Groton, Connecticut. Navy base. I was a Navy brat. My dad was on subs.
Oh, no shit.
So we bounced all around, and I ended up in a couple places in the Southeast, went to high school in Atlanta. And then my mom, her family is from Huntsville, and my wife and her family are from Huntsville. So we just ended up back here.
And you have 2 kids?
Yep.
And how old are they now?
My daughter is 15 and my son is 13.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I was just thinking about that the other night. Last night I was telling my wife, I go, oh man, there's going to be a time when I just can't just scoop them up and cuddle them anymore. God, yeah. 13's getting there, right?
Yeah, it's getting there.
You can't just pick him up and just like hold him. He'll be like, what are you doing? I'm my own
my son, my son's the 13-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
He is, he's still a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the teenage years now. And it's weird because all of the other kids his age, like in the neighborhood, kids that he meets who go to public school and like have cell phones with social media and do all that crap.
Public school.
He's so different from them that he can't interact with them. He still wants to climb trees and go fishing and play with trucks.
Yeah.
Which is, I love it. I don't want that to change.
So they think he's the weird homeschool kid, or do they like him? Do they kind of look up to him? They're like, damn, he still got his swagger. I wish I had that.
Yeah, it's funny. My kids are liked by the homeschool kids, and my kids will tolerate. Sorry, my kids are liked by the public school kids, but my kids will tolerate and sometimes not tolerate the public school kids, like in the neighborhood. They just don't. They don't know how to interact with them. They're like, hey, let's go out to the creek and throw rocks and stuff. And they're like, no, I want to play Fortnite.
I need a bowl of Cheerios.
Yeah. So
my kids trip on the other kids too. The other kids really like them. You're right. The other kids really like them, and my kids are really nice, obviously, right? Because they don't spend half the day fighting and competing with other kids.
Yeah. My kids are like the fun, dangerous kids in the neighborhood.
Right. Like if the frisbee goes up in the tree, they want your kids there. Your kids will go up and get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Someone has to climb a fence. Someone has to talk to the cops or an adult. Your kids can do that.
Somebody's got to pick up a snake or
yeah. God, that's so cool.
Yeah, your kids are homeschooled, right?
Yeah. One of them went to like kindergarten before he was homeschooled, so he got a little experience. And the other 2 have never been. My wife signed him up for this, I don't know what to call it, but it's like a literary class. It's basically you read a book at home with your kids, and then you send your kids somewhere else for 3 hours, and then all the kids get in the room, and then they talk about the book. And
that's awesome.
And that was the first time that's the longest my kids have ever been away from me or my wife. Even though my wife was just downstairs, they were it was crazy. They came out like new people. They came out all shit. We spent 3 hours by ourselves. was crazy.
Yeah, people ask me, what do you do for a homeschool curriculum? And I assign books. My kids read books. I make them write reflection papers and answer questions. You can, aside from the math that we outsource, you can get an amazing education from reading good books.
Do you think the public school system can be in a perfect world? Do you think it can be saved, or do you just think that it's a mistake to it's going down the wrong path, sending kids in large groups to be educated by the government?
Yes.
So both. You think that there is somewhere where you could have some sort of education program that's solid for your kid? What about this? What about before we get to that, what about this thing? And I know people are going to be like, hey, the world's not set up like that. Not everyone can do that. But there is this weird component that I didn't realize until I started homeschooling. It's like you found some girl, you fell in love with her, you fornicated with her and had kids, and now you're going to send them away to let someone else raise them for 8 hours a day for 15 years. I mean, there's kind of it doesn't sit well with me anymore. It's like, wait a second. Those are it's like I admire the guy who takes his dog everywhere. You know, the guy who has the border collie in the Jeep with no leash and it just goes everywhere with them. And you're like, fuck, that's a good life for him and the dog.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to just
meanwhile his kids are being raised by the government.
right. It's something just seems off. Like, don't have kids if you don't want to raise them, to me.
Yeah, the family is designed the way it is for a mother and father to raise their children. And sending your kids off to public school, I think for most, I can understand why some people would do that. I understand there's some situations where,
right.
You know,
if you work at 7-Eleven and you have a 9-year-old kid, bring your kid to work with you. He needs to start working the register, stocking the shelves, seeing the guy why does the guy who smokes cigarettes have his teeth missing? How come the drunk guy's really nice but fucking smells like he pooped his pants? Like, why did the price of chewing gum go up from $1 to $5 a pack in the 6 years I work? Like, just take your kid to work with you at 7-Eleven. Why not?
I agree. It's called an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be sympathetic towards people who maybe just haven't thought well about this and think it's the best option for them. But I'd also like to sit down with that person and explain why I think they're probably wrong. Yeah,
my kids were going to a public school that was $2,300. A private school that was $2,300 a month. So that ends up being like $7,000 a month for 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Montessori school. And then of course there were half the kids who went there were on scholarship and got to go for free because I live in Santa Cruz. And when I lost my job, there was no way that was going to happen anymore.
Oh yeah. So
I just brought everyone home.
Isn't it better?
Yeah, I watched my wife teach my kids how to read and write and do math. I can't even fucking believe it. She's like, I didn't do it. Kumon did it. I'm like, no, you did it.
Kumon did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the public school systems are a disaster. I'd like to abolish them just completely. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. But there are ways that we could make that better. And a big part of that is localism. The communal school was the model for 100 years. You had a local community that paid a tutor, a teacher, would give them room and board, give them a salary, and they just shuttled all their kids down to the end of the town, and they sat in a one-room schoolhouse and learned together. The community controlled to an extent who was teaching and what they were teaching.
How does that comport with getting rid of schools? I'm sorry, you said you'd abolish schools, but now you're saying you would have a school.
Yeah, I'm not against communal schooling. I'm against the federalization of the public school system. So the Department of Education, I can't remember when they were stood up. It wasn't that long ago. Is a big part of the problem of why public schools are mostly terrible. So yeah, I don't want my kids in a public school, and my kids don't want to be in a public school. And it's crazy. I think there are a lot of people now who have started homeschooling their kids at a young age, and they see the contrast. Like, they see the way their kids behave differently, the way they're actually learning stuff, the way they're getting to spend quality time with their kids and teach them values that the school system is probably not teaching, maybe also undermining. And it's like when you walk out of a room that smells like garbage and then you come back in, you're like, oh wow, that was terrible. and I just got used to it.
Because I'm in Santa Cruz and my kids are always out doing things, right? I know
Yeah.
I know a lot of the other parents. So you start seeing a lot of the other parents, like you'll see them in jiu-jitsu or soccer or just wherever, at the park or at the 4th of July parade or at tennis, right? Because all the parents are like taking their kids to different places, trying to figure out what their kids should be involved in. And there's this one group of these two kids, 8 and 6, who are kind of on the same circuit as us. Their parents, we became friends, and their kids are sort of now doing everything we're doing. And at first they're like, man, this is a lot that you're doing with your kids. I'm like, well, you got to pull your kids out of school if you want to, if you want to do this circuit. And so they ended up pulling their kids out of school, and they can't even believe what happened to their oldest daughter. Like, total problem child, completely went away.
Yeah.
And it was basically her just trying to compete with the other kids at the school, and lying had set in, and exaggerating and being mean to people in order to impress other people. And they said, shit, all that shit went away. All the behaviors went away. And I was like, maybe that's why it's so easy. Parenting's so easy for me. Maybe it's because, I always said it's because I have discipline and structure around my kids and crazy boundaries, but maybe it's just because they're just not learning shit from other kids.
I think that's probably right. Yeah, we joke and say,
parent.
we joke and say the government's raising your kids in public school. It's actually other kids raising your kids.
Right. Good point. Right.
30 kids and one teacher. They're being raised in this like tribalistic youth group that's mostly influenced by TikTok. And what do you get? Like you said, you get competition, you get performative behaviors, you get lying, you get abuse. It's the norm. It's like, I mean, it's probably like what it's like in prison.
Yeah. When we say competition, I'm not talking about competition like you and your buddies are down at the creek trying to see who can kill the most butterflies with rocks. It's not like that at all. It's who can bring a cell phone to school, who has the most expensive shoes. Yeah, it's crazy shit. Great point by Dan, his first ever on the show. But I mean, I guess even a broken clock is wrong, right twice a day. It's not about where they go to school. It's about what examples are set at home every day. I don't agree with the first part of the sentence, but yeah, man, the examples at home are.
How are they getting those examples at home if they're at school from 7 to 3:30?
Right. Well,
you can try and make up for it with a little bit of time you have with your kids at the end of the day when they're tired and hungry. But I'd rather have more time with my kids to influence them and shape them.
And when you're tired and hungry.
Yeah, right.
You're tired and hungry, and they're tired and hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, in all fairness, when my kids are home, I'd say 80% of the time they're at home, that's their time. They're in the backyard. They're like, fuck, I've been with you all day. I'm going in the backyard. Or me and my brothers are going to go in the garage and see who can jump the highest or some shit. So I mean, they don't even want to be with me. Do you let your kids watch TV, Russell?
We watch TV together, and we only do it occasionally.
Oh.
And like we do it as like a family thing. We have one television in the house. It's in my wife and my bedroom. And we don't actually have cable. We just basically stream YouTube or whatever video we want to watch with them. And yeah, we do it as a communal thing. Like we'll get on YouTube and like play quiz games. The guess the movie by the soundtrack quiz game, or we'll watch some stupid meme video and see who can go the longest without laughing. We'll watch some documentaries, but yeah, we don't watch a lot of television.
Do you let them do any Disney stuff? Like, do you let them watch Trolls or Batman or any of that stuff?
No, and the best part is they don't have a taste for it. They don't want to watch it.
Wow.
It's just like good food, you feed your kids good food and they eat garbage and they're like, yeah, I get why people eat that, but it makes me feel bad. It's the same thing with media. What media they consume shapes their tastes, and when they get something that's radically different and not good, they can sense it.
But you had to start them off like that. You had to be strict like that. So I've let my kids watch some pretty shitty TV, and they're into some pretty shitty TV. Like, there's this movie called Trolls.
Yeah.
And although they've probably only been to the movies, I don't know, 10 times in their life, they did go to the movies and see that movie on a snowy day in Idaho. And holy shit, man, they're so into it.
That's funny.
Like they want to come home and watch it over and over. But food, 100%. They'll see a bowl of ice cream and they won't run to it. They know, they're like, ooh, that's not going to. Somehow they figured out better than I did that's not going to make me feel good.
you have to balance that. Like, you don't want to completely remove all of those temptations and experiences from their life, because then they're gonna leave your house and be like, "What's all this good stuff Dad's been keeping from me forever?"
Yeah,
You want to
yeah,
let them figure it out on their own.
yeah.
Give them a little bit of a leash at some point.
Well, on Halloween, they pretty much, I tell them, hey, when we come back, you can eat candy, but when you wake up in the morning, it's all going to be gone.
Yeah,
And
that's what
usually 5 pieces in, the last probably 3 Halloweens, they're sick.
they're done. Yeah.
They're done. They're bummed. They'll even say, "Why'd you let us do it?" Mike Andridge, my kid goes to public schools. Oh, just my kid. No, your kid only goes to one public school. But I hear you. My kid goes to public schools, and our neighborhood kids also, and our neighborhood kids also. So all of them go to public school. They all play outside more than video games. It's the parents. I went to public school. I didn't play video games, well, until they came out. And I played outside all day, but that's because my mom was at work, and boy, I learned some crazy shit from those kids.
Yeah.
I learned some crazy shit, and I saw some crazy shit, and some crazy shit went down. And
Yeah, I just want to repeat that. Like, yeah, it's not just the public school. I get that. But when you're exposed to bad behaviors and bad values and the undermining of your values from 7 a.m. to 3:30 each day, you really have to be very loud and very assertive with your parenting to overcome that. Like, you're fighting a losing battle in terms of just time and influence with your kids. So you can be the greatest parent in the world, and then from the entire time they're at school, they're absorbing all of the things around them from their peers, and it is going to have an impact on their behavior.
listen to this. By the way, this wasn't supposed to be a homeschooling show. Augustus Link, public schooling will most likely give you normal kids. What do you mean, like septum ring, blue hair, and want to chop penis off normal? But
I don't want
I hear you.
Normal.
But homeschooling will either result in a very well-behaved kids, like Sevans, are completely batshit crazy, depending on who's teaching. Listen, if you're smoking crack at home, and that's the reason why your kids are homeschooled, yeah, they're gonna end up.
Not what we're talking about.
But boy,
if you send your kid to public school and suddenly they are wearing cat ears and they want to pee in a litter box.
I live in a small town. I think, I don't know, 30,000 people. My neighbors have donkeys. There's turkeys running wild in the streets, and I am 17 miles away from, the headquarters of Apple, one of the richest company in the world.
Never heard of them.
But I see the kids on the corner, and first, I wouldn't want my kids dressing like that and behaving like that. The shit I see, like, there's no, I can't even fucking believe what I see. Especially from the girls, I cannot fucking believe what I see.
Yeah, girls have it hardest for sure. I mean, I started homeschooling my kids because we wanted them taught from a Christian worldview, and public schools are not religiously neutral. They're teaching your kids from the religion of secularism. And
what does that mean? What does that mean, secularism?
Just a religious view that it's sort of a self-deception. Like, it's the view that you can be religion free, right? Like, you can be free of religious biases, and you can teach the world from a religiously neutral perspective. It's not only is that not true, but it itself becomes a religion that values humanism and human reason and autonomy and hedonism. And that's what's taught in public schools by default. I mean, it's by design.
Hold on a second. I want to. We'll get to the girl thing. I want to go into that secularism thing in a second. So,
yeah,
are you saying that everyone has to have a religion? Just like if I ask you, what's in your mouth, you can say nothing, or you can say my tongue, or you can say tobacco. Yeah, you could say a piece of ice cream. Right. But for someone to say I'm not religious is to say I don't have a mouth. They're just a fucking liar. Yeah. Everyone has to. Do you have to have a religion? Because I think I'm just starting to understand maybe that's a true statement in the last 5 years. That to say you don't have a religion, then that becomes your religion. And I'm like, oh shit, that's bizarre. And one more thing I'd like to throw out there is, since wasn't raised with a religion, is that why I didn't learn about values until I was like 45? Like, because I hear people say always they have values or morals, and I'm like, I don't think I have any of those. But then recently, since I had kids, I realized I started having values.
Yeah.
So people who are religious get values. It comes with values when you're aware of your religion.
So you were correct when you said everybody has a religion. If you say I don't have a religion, you're making a religious claim. You're making a claim about religion. It is part of your worldview. And really, this comes down to how you define religion. Secularists, this secular humanism is what it used to be called. It was a self-defined religion and is now backing away from that over the last several decades. That view says that you can be without religion, but then they just replace all of the things that religion is with secular ideals and values and epistemology. And so it is a religion. It just tries to be a religion without any reference to God.
So give me an example. So when you say the Earth was created from Big Bang, if I say I'm not religious, and then I say, what do you think?
That's a creation myth. You have a story of creation. That's part of your religion.
Okay, so you do have a religion. I wonder.
And as you said, you weren't raised with values, but you had values. You had a moral standard by which you judged behaviors around you. You just didn't have it structured and codified and written down somewhere or taught to you in a formal way. Everybody has that.
Right. So like if I saw a kid getting picked on at school, sometimes I would cry. And those were because somehow I had values or morals that were or I feel like I'd have to go over and stand up for the kid.
Yeah, and I mean, no one
ever explained to me what that is. Like, hey, I guess my mom would say, treat people how you want to be treated. She'd always tell me that.
Something like the golden rule, right? We all have moral intuitions written on our heart by God. We're born that way, and we walk around with them. And yes, they get corrupted by our own sin and our own selfishness, but some element of that exists in every human being, and everybody walks around with their own moral reasoning and makes judgments about things, and those are all fundamentally religious beliefs. So when your public school teaches your kid, hey, it is not only morally acceptable but good and worthy of celebration that this little boy is taking hormones and wanting his penis cut off because he's actually a little girl inside, that public school is teaching your kids something theological, like about design and about the teleology of human existence, about what a human is, and about basically about what should structure our identity. So that public school is teaching us that we have a poietic or an internal identity, like you are what you feel you are, not you are what reality around you says you are. And that public school is also teaching something about morals. You must celebrate this behavior. That is a moral imposition on our kids. And so all of that is religious, whether they claim it is or not.
Caleb, can we see what moral is? Just 1 second. I need help with some of these words. Yeah. Wow. So there's a demand on taking a moral position when they say a lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent, that can be derived from a story, a piece of information, or an experience. A person's standards of behaviors, beliefs concerning what is and not acceptable for them to do.
So that second entry is the one that all people have, and it's fundamentally part of your religion.
So is it a complete misnomer? Is it just completely not true? If someone says I'm not religious, are they really saying I'm just not conscious of my own religion?
That's correct. Or they're using a very peculiar and specific definition of religion that only is those religions that they want to reject and not their own.
So religion, can you look up religion too, Caleb? Thank you. So maybe religion is your internal rules of behavior?
It's an aspect of what your religion is.
Aspect.
So religion encompasses all sorts of things. What do you believe is right and wrong? Why do you think we're here? What's the meaning of life? Where do we come from? Who are we obligated to obey when we do these right and wrong things? Where are we going when we die? All of these are religious questions, and everyone who has an answer to any of that has a religious perspective, has a religion.
The belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers.
That is a modern definition that is heavily influenced by secularism, which is the attempt to carve out this special realm of beliefs that is free from like First Amendment violations. So if I say I'm secular and I have all these religious views, but I can convince you that that's not a religion, well, now I can teach it to your kids and your tax dollars will pay for it.
Oh, wow. Oh, shit.
Now I'm not teaching a religion in public schools, but there's a Supreme Court case that determined this. There was actually I think it was in the 60s. There's a Supreme Court case saying, hey, secular humanism is a religion. Why are we having our kids taught this in public schools? And the Supreme Court went with the secularists when they backed away from the definition of, hey, we're a humanist religion. They dropped that. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, they're not a religion. They can teach it.
Wow. There's something I want to play with you that's fucking crazy along those same lines. Can you pull up, Caleb, my Instagram? This, I don't know who this is. I saw this on Instagram on Rebel News, and it's a guy from Canada. Yeah, listen to this. Listen to this.
Do you view this as a parental rights issue at all?
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, there's no such thing as parental rights. In Canada, there are parental responsibilities. And in Canadian family law, the primary responsibility of parents is to support and affirm their kids. Children have rights in Canada, and these kind of policies restrict the rights that children have in Canada.
Do you view this?
Listen, watch this. Do you view parental rights as an issue at all? Play one more sentence, Caleb. Here we go.
A rights issue at all?
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, there's no such thing as parental rights in Canada. There are parental responsibilities.
One more.
And in Canadian family law, the primary responsibility
in Canadian family law. So did he just say the government owns your kids, not the parents, when he says they're run by Canadian family law?
So what he just said is the only rights you have are the rights that Canadian government has agreed to give you.
Yeah.
Your rights are not based on anything outside of what we say.
That's some crazy word fuckery. Randall Garrison.
Hey, you know how people will talk about the Second Amendment and be like, yeah, it's for hunting and sport. This is why we have a Second Amendment.
So when this guy comes and takes your kid, you just fucking...
Yeah, there's a Second Amendment so that you can defend yourself against statists like that, and so you can uphold the First Amendment.
What is a statist?
Someone like him who is, I'm presuming this guy's religion is worship of the state. Like we are. So think about it. Where do your rights come from as a human being?
I guess a cooperation from my neighbor not coming over here and beating me up and taking my shit.
So that's an application of your rights. Like that's how you can see you have them. But where do they come from? They don't come from your neighbor, because then your neighbors could all get together and say, yeah, we have rights, but that Sevan guy, he's not human. He doesn't have rights.
Yeah. So I don't know where they come from.
They come from your creator. They're inherent in you by design. This is what the Declaration of Independence acknowledges, that by design we are created.
That's not true, though. That's just like a supposition, right, that we make?
Oh, no, it's true. You don't have to agree with it. But if you don't ground your rights as an image bearer of God in you inherently as just the fact that you're a human being who breathes and exists, if your rights are based on anything else, then you end up with what that guy just in that clip said, which is actually no, your rights come from the government. And if your rights come from the government, then we can just determine at whim like which ones you have and which ones you don't. This is why abortion is a problem. Right?
Before you go too much further, you're touching on something which is the reason why in the last 10 years I've really accepted Christianity. Even though I'm not a Christian, I understand the crazy importance of it for my freedom. I'm like, okay, I haven't been called by God. There's no one talking. I'm open to it. I just haven't been called at all. But so can you go back and touch on that more? Why is it important that we have this, what I call a supposition that we were born with rights?
Yeah. So we're created with inherent dignity and value as image bearers of God, every single person on earth. That supposition was the basis for things like what our founders put in the Declaration of Independence, that we have inalienable rights given to us by our creator.
Yeah, that's the word, inalienable rights.
And so when you recognize that your dignity and value, your humanness, that the image of God in you, comes from something external to what any of us think about it.
Yeah.
Then when I stand up a authoritarian government, I can't say, hey, you know, those rights that you had, well, we've changed our mind. You don't have those anymore, because they were never mine to give to begin with. So something like abortion is a great example of this. We're killing small human children in their mother's womb. And really any argument you want to make for why abortion should be legal, it all boils down to, I want to consider that child as something less than I would consider other human beings. That child has less rights than all of the rights that we all enjoy as people outside of a womb. And it's the same process. I mean, that's the same logic that's behind what the Nazis did to the Jews. Yeah, we're human, but they're not. They have different rights than us. That's what
Is that why they call it reproductive rights? Because they in stuff like abortion instead of baby killing, because that's too.
It's obfuscation. Yeah, they don't want to talk directly about what's really being said, which is
like the guy in the Alpha News clip. He's really saying the government controls your kids, but he doesn't say that. He calls it as protecting the rights of the kids.
Yeah, and yeah, that's
is really enforcing the law on your kids. The government will enforce the rules on your kids, not you.
Yeah, I think in that example, he's saying you have some rights, but those rights are all subordinate to the state's right to raise your child and make decisions as to what's best for your child. And so at any point,
though, that your kids have rights, it's like it's word fuckery.
Yeah, it's muddying the waters so that you, as a parent, don't have red lights start going off in your head. Warning, warning.
We can talk to your kid about chopping your kid's dick off. You cannot talk to your kid about not chopping their dick off.
Basically, yeah.
Man, Canada's really fucked up, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how people live there. It's a mess.
Here's the thing. I don't think that they think it's going to happen to them. So I don't know if you've had. I've 3 people in my sphere who've this state's tried to take their kids from them.
Oh,
or
wow.
they've had CPS come. Yeah.
Oh, so check this out. Did you hear the story of the Muslim guy?
You know one of them. No, but tell me. I can't wait to hear this.
So there's this Muslim. I think he was a physician. He was white collar. Worked in. He was in Oregon. I think it was Washington State. That's what it was. He's in Washington State.
Yeah, one of the guys I know had to flee with his 15-year-old daughter from Washington State, and now she's like 17, and she's like, "Thank you, Dad, for taking me."
So this dude, he had a son who was a little bit on the spectrum, had some behavioral issues, something was going on. Lockdowns happened from COVID, and so the kid spends like 8 hours a day just sitting alone in his room watching YouTube videos. Decides, to stop sleeping, starts to have problems, gets sent into the hospital and put in a psych ward. This is all lockdown, so like parents can't see him.
Yeah.
Well, then the hospital sends a letter to the father and says, hey, we wanted to let you know on the progress of your daughter's treatment, and starts referring to his son as she. And so he gets wind of this and starts talking to the care team. Turns out that they've decided to like full-on gender therapy, hormonal treatment, looking at surgery in the future. They've fixed this child's problem by determining that he's actually a woman. So the dad plays along like, oh yeah, absolutely. But, is there any way we could do this outpatient? Like, could I come get my daughter from the hospital, and then we can follow up with the gender treatments as soon as possible? We'll go to the appointments. And the hospital's like, oh yeah, since you're being cool about it, let's do that. Guy gets his son out of the hospital and leaves the state the next day. Gone. Like, just ghosted him to go take care of his son who was being abused by this hospital system. That's the way to handle that, right?
You go to a psych ward, and instead of them addressing your issue, they exacerbate it. They go along with it. You now are, you really are Abraham Lincoln. We're going to call you Abraham Lincoln.
And the young girls have this way worse.
Crazy, dude.
Young girls have this way worse. Have you read Abigail Shrier's book, Irreversible Harm?
No. Abigail Shrier.
You have to read that book. So this was a book that a lot of people tried to get banned off Amazon. She's not a Christian. She's a pretty secular, like liberal, liberal in the 2000 sense, not the 2024 sense.
Uh-huh.
And she's a journalist. She wrote this book on the phenomena of transgender ideology and how it went from something that affected less than 1%, like 0.1% of males historically, to increasing by something like 3,000 or 4,000%, and really predominantly affecting adolescent girls. So no longer was this a disorder that was onset at birth and affected males, but it's a disorder that's onset at 16-year-old girls and is also socially contagious. So
I own the book. I just haven't. I own the book.
Okay, well, read it. We'll listen to it. So what we're dealing with this transgenderism, and she makes a fantastic case for this, is it is a social contagion. Yeah. It is a disease that's much like anorexia or dissociative disorder, that is basically a socially acceptable way of teenage girls experiencing tons of anxiety and hormonal problems, expressing that to get attention. And that sounds really dismissive. I don't mean it to sound like that. It is a real significant problem. And requires, these young girls need help. But she does a really good job of showing that pretty much everything we've done to help them has made things worse.
I can't remember where in my sphere I heard this story, but it was a lesbian couple, and they had adopted their first kid, or they had their first kid, and it was a boy. And then they started, they raised him non-binary and started like turning him to a girl. And then they got another kid. I think it was a daughter. And I may have some of the details messed up, but somewhere along the line, they were telling me that they realized they were doing it because their friends told them to do it, and that they had really fucked their son up.
Wow.
And it was wrong.
Talk about some self-awareness.
Fucking crazy, right? And
to be able to admit that.
And so, like, they spent, like, I heard the story a couple of years ago. So they spent the first 3 years, they just basically let the boy become a girl, right? They just took him, like a dose, and took him down that path, And for those of you who don't know what I'm saying is, it's when you take your kid to the Halloween store and he says, "Hey, I want to be Elsa." And instead of just like ignoring him or not saying anything or like moving on or like maybe pulling out the Spider-Man costume, you go, "Oh my God, that's so cool. You want to be Elsa?" And then you overcompensate and you buy him the Elsa dress and the Elsa shoes. And then the day after Halloween, you let him wear them to school again. And then you start rewarding.
You post it on Instagram so all of your very progressive friends can applaud you.
Yes.
And you can get attention to it.
Yes, that I just wanted to tell you that's how it. I mean, I don't know where maybe that does not. Well, that's how it goes down everywhere with kids. That's how you raise kids. So like when Russell's kids in the backyard and they pull out the BB gun and they put on their safety goggles, Russell goes, "Hey," and they go, "What?" They go, "Good job, dude. I really like how you put." I really like it. I really okay. When Russell's kid is sharpening his knife and he puts the knife sharpener away, Russell goes, "Dude." And the kid goes, "What?" He goes, "Really impressed. I really like that. That really helps me that I don't have to always be putting your shit away. Thank you, dude. Like, I owe you one. I love you." That's how you raise a kid. And so when you do that, when the kid puts a butt plug in his ass, well, then you're going to get a kid who puts butt plugs in his ass. And it's not complicated. It's not complicated. These kids want to make you happy. And so those of us who kind of understand what it's like raising a kid, when we see those kids, we know that they were abused. We know what the parents did to them. So,
what did you intend to talk about on this interview?
What was your what would you say your job was at CrossFit? I always, man, you were like when you worked there. I just loved. I have this friend, Jeff Holman, but he was my friend in the 2nd grade. 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th, all the way through high school. But I loved going to school because I'd see him. Mm-hmm. So I loved going to work to see you. I'd be like, "Oh, Russell's going to be there. Oh, I'm going to talk to Russell. Oh, he's going to say some fucking funny shit." Or you were really creative. You were really smart. I just like being around you. But what was your job? What did you like?
Well, thank you.
What did you do? You were always busy. You were always busy. You were always influencing the ship. You were, but not only that, but you were a creator. which is kind of crazy. Like you had an executive role, but you were also a creator. You weren't like like these current executives, they can't do anything. They can't hold a camera. They can't actually do anything.
So that's a good question. I always have trouble describing what I did because I did a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
So I was a trainer and a flow master.
Holy fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were a trainer and a flow master. Crazy.
Yep. So I was a flow master trainer, worked in the training department for many years. It's kind of where I got started, while also doing a lot of writing for the journal. And then I worked directly.
You were a good athlete, right? Weren't you close to going to the games a couple times?
I went to the games in 09.
09, okay.
Missed it by a couple points for like 2 more years after that. And I think I quit. I just gave up in 2012. I was tired of like going to regionals and not quite hitting the podium.
Yeah.
And got injured. Just probably one of the best things that ever happened to me was stop taking competitive fitness too seriously. It was just not good for me personally.
You did crazy shit like the other guys in the early years. Like you would row with a 40-pound vest or some shit for an hour. Just weird shit like that, right?
Probably stuff dumber than that. Even.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I worked for Greg directly, doing a lot of just oddball brand issues, and then later like a lot of work trying to disrupt the schemes of our competitors and their industry sponsors like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo. So a lot of
disrupt their
schemes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the fitness industry by and large was composed of proxies for PepsiCo and Coca-Cola. So the NSCA, the ASCM, they wanted to make CrossFit training illegal. They didn't like us, but they couldn't compete with us. And we were telling people not to drink sugar, and that was hurting the bottom line of their platinum sponsors. So they would scheme, and I would do investigative journalism. I uncovered the NSCA fraud case that led to that massive lawsuit. And then at the same time, I was like, acting as a designated corporate representative in lawsuits, testifying before juries, and then all the way on the other end of the spectrum, like making media, running the overheard press, just doing satire, news stories, all kinds of stuff.
And you even did the piece with Carrie Peterson where you guys went to Jerusalem, right?
Yeah, yep. 2 pieces. Never saw the second one because I got fired, but always wanted to see what that looked like.
Braylon Tender. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Hey, that's in New Zealand. Isn't that New Zealand?
Holy shit. Look, Greg, Carrie, me, and you. Look at you. Oh, man, you had a selfie stick before there was a selfie stick.
That was your selfie stick. You handed me that. I'm trying to push that off on me.
Like, I'm not taking credit for that. I still have those glasses. Where do I have those glasses here? No.
Yeah, it was in the New Zealand airport, I feel like.
Braylon Tender, fitness competitor, Leviticus 19:28. That's not real, right?
What's not real? That name?
No, well, that's not real for sure. But you shall not make any cuts on your body for the dead or tattoo yourselves. I am the Lord.
What about it?
He's calling out your tattoo, maybe.
No, I'd like to hear him articulate that because I guarantee he doesn't have any idea what that means or how to make that into a cogent argument.
Yeah, Braylon. Yeah.
You get this all the time from the sort of fedora-wearing, basement-dwelling atheists.
Yeah.
They'll just quote something random from the Old Testament Mosaic Law.
Yeah.
And then say, well, how come if you're a Christian, how come you don't do that? Well, it's because we're in a completely different covenant. And so much of that law was designed as a shadow or a type to point forward to the realities of the new covenant, that if you don't understand that, you don't understand the story of the Bible, you're not going to get it. But they're not actually interested in hearing the story of the Bible. They don't want to understand the way the
Leviticus
law
is that. I'm trying to understand. Is Leviticus, that's Old Testament?
That's the Old Testament, which is it's
and the
God's
New Testament. Tattoos are good.
they're not. Yeah, they're neutral. There's freedom to tattoo yourself as you want. But hey, that's not to say you can't tattoo yourself in an idolatrous way. That's not to say you can't put a pagan symbol on your arm and be sinning and doing that, because that's essentially what that means in Leviticus, is that God was telling the people of Israel, who he had a particular purpose for, don't mark yourselves with the pagan symbols that the people in the Canaanite lands around you are doing, because it will cause you to become spiritually corrupted. You'll follow after their gods and you'll worship the gods that I'm trying to get you not to worship. There's a lot of laws that were particular to Israel for that purpose, their purity and their separation from the Canaanite pagan religions around them. That's just not relevant to us today because that law is specific to Israel and fulfilled in Christ. So
Froning's Galatians one, you're good with it?
Yeah, I mean, you can still get a tattoo for a sinful reason. Like, I honestly, if I could go back, I wouldn't get these tattoos because I know I got them so people would look, right?
Oh.
I got them so I could have attention, and I wouldn't do that. It was kind of, just something I did as a young Christian, and I'm probably more mature now. But that's not to say that there's something, there's not some way you could get a tattoo that would be, perfectly fine.
That's interesting. You say you got that for attention.
Isn't that why most people get tattoos?
I don't think most people know why they get tattoos. I think that they come up with they have some sort of reason, like I really like that, or it's to remember my trip to the Olympics, or but I don't think most people are conscious enough. I think most people think they are their thoughts.
Yeah.
And they're enslaved to them. And they can't distinguish the difference between the thoughts that just arrive in their head versus the ones they actually consciously think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what they think. I don't know what they think, but I know when you ask them, it's fucking weird. It was weird how quick you were to say you did it for attention because I don't think most people know. I think they just make up some reason that popped in their head. I don't think most people know.
Sure.
How about this one? Wow, we're so we can eat meat too. Leviticus, do not eat any meat with the blood still in it. That's Old Testament too?
Yeah.
My wife's been eating some really raw meat lately. Like there's blood on it and shit.
It's probably not blood.
What is that red stuff?
I think it's like enzymes that, like you seep out of your ribeye when you cook it. That's not blood.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So when you buy a steak and it's like floating in red shit, that's not blood. Those are enzymes. What are enzymes?
It's like so the juice that seeps out of your steak. I mean, maybe there's blood in it. I don't know, but I know that a lot of that is enzymes from the muscle. Like that's how you do like a wet aging to a steak or to a cut of meat. You put it in a bag like that. You suck all the air out and you just let it sit in its own juices, and those enzymes will break the meat down and make it more tender.
Okay. I don't even know what enzyme. That's all over my head. Hey, going back to the tattoo thing, people will say stuff like, my child died, so I got this tattoo on him.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
That's not really.
I have one of those. My brother committed suicide, and I got his birth date and death date on my ribs.
Oh, okay. Why do you think the real reason you did it? To manage, like, I know someone would say for your memory, but is it to manage your pain, or it's all you can do, or it's acting out, or is there a reason? What's the thought that comes before? I did it to remember my brother. I didn't know your brother died. How old were you when your brother died?
I was in my mid-20s.
Damn.
Yeah, this was 20.
Did he kill himself?
Yeah, he committed suicide.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he overdosed on Tylenol PM on purpose.
Oh, fuck. Did he have kids?
No, he was younger than me by 2 years. He was 21.
Damn, dude, you've been through a lot of shit.
Yeah, I mean, this was so long ago. When I think about it now, like, I think I probably got the tattoo because I just wanted to do something. Like, I felt like I had so little control over any of it. I think I probably just felt like, hey, here's one thing I can do. And it's like a permanent mark on me. It's going to make me feel something. And I'll feel like I did something, and he'll be there. Like his memory will be there, like stuck to me forever. So I can't forget him. I think that's what I was thinking. This was so long ago.
I can't have just most people on the show and we just shoot the shit.
Yeah, is that what we're doing now? You didn't plan all this?
No, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't plan any of this. It's so crazy that some people have I think some people have the inability to shoot the shit because they're guarding. Oh, I see a squirrel outside. Because they're guarding something. Did you look outside to see if you could see a squirrel? Like if we're getting an omen?
I was going to say, like, I have one too. I have chickens outside my window. My daughter's chickens are running around.
Do squirrels integrate with will you see just a squirrel hanging out next to a chicken? The
chickens will chase it down like they want to kill it.
Oh, okay.
They'd probably eat it if they could.
Why do you think that a lot of people just can't shoot the shit? I think it's just because they're guarded, or they don't know how to talk about stuff, or they're afraid. They're afraid of like what might come out of their mouth.
It's 2024. Do you realize how absurd it is that you do a live podcast? Do you realize like how many people are afraid to do what you're doing because of what they might say and what might happen to them socially and financially and economically? Like, you say the wrong thing and you say it on the internet, and suddenly you're banned, you're fired, you're like, that's why I love your show. It's so rare to see a live show like this.
That's
you just say what you think.
So once a week, I get on average once a week, 4 times a month, I get a note from someone else. So this isn't true about you, but I get a note about someone else that says, someone will be like, hey, Sevan. I'll be like, hey, what's up? And be like, I'm friends with Russell Berger. I'll be like, oh yeah, cool. Hey, how are you doing? Been a minute since I talked to you. Let's say it's Carol, someone named Carol. And I'll be like, yeah, I can go, well, I was talking to Russell and he's tripping on some shit you might bring up. I go, like what? And he goes, well, he doesn't know. And I go, dude, I'm not like a monster. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to I'm not going to have like the CEO of like some company on and then start asking what is, hey, I heard in high school you said you made a racial slur. I'm like, I'm not that guy. Yeah. Like I take the temperature of the room and I roll. I'm not a gotcha guy.
Well, see, I know that, but I think people are just so paralyzed about this kind of thing because of what they've seen other people go through. I don't know. I've never had that problem. So
right. You were one of the first to get canceled. You stood up against baby killing. Hey, do you ever talk? Have you since you got fired from CrossFit? Have you had any interaction with Jeff Kane or Olivia Leonard?
Not once.
And I normally never say their name on the show. By the way, it's very rare. Normally, I say the ex-CEO or his mistress. Yeah. I never refer to them by name.
I like those titles better.
Yeah, because I don't want to give him I don't want to give him fucking any attention. God, what a bit.
There are people in the company who I talked to regularly within days and have never stopped.
Oh, since you got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Greg is one of them.
Yeah. Isn't that a weird people? Isn't that what kind of special person is that you and him, he could fire you and then you guys still be friends? I mean, firing you was gnarly.
Yeah.
You have a family and you are so loyal and just like all this shit. But you just stay friends with, like, I would stay friends with people. I've people in the company who've done really fucked up shit to me. I mean, not like stuck their thumb in my butt when I wasn't looking, but just like, made hardship for me. I'm still friends. I still would talk to too. What do you think that is about us that like, well, just keep going? Like, why not just hate those people and like, fuck you? Like, that's what most people do. Fuck you. I'm never talking to you again. You're an asshole. And then just rage jihad on Greg for the next 20 years on the internet. This time, Greg bumped into me and knocked me down the stairs. And like, you just keep telling that story over and over.
Yeah. There's just no value to holding a grudge like that. All that's going to do is make you miserable. What's the benefit?
But you were loyal. You had a family. You'd been around forever. You'd been in the biggest fights. You were irreplaceable.
So like, everything you're saying is
a grudge. You could be like, fuck, you're a dick, dude. I was a good dude.
Everything you're saying is a reason why I think it was wrong to fire me.
Right.
But like, if I made a list of the people who I knew who've done wrong things and even wrong things at me, like, I wouldn't be able to talk to anybody anymore. Right. I've done tons of wrong things to people, both things I'm aware of and things I probably am not even aware of. And so I try and give grace to people because I know I need it. And if somebody's willing to try and mend a relationship, I'm happy to do it too. So
holding a grudge is weird.
Yeah. I think it takes a lot of pride to hold a grudge, which is funny because I'm prideful too. But like, that's just one area where in God's kindness, I'm not bent that way. So,
you were in the military?
Yeah.
In the Army?
Yep. First of the 75th Ranger Regiment.
And as a Ranger regiment, that means all the guys were Rangers?
Yeah. First Battalion Ranger Regiment. We were a Ranger Battalion.
And what's a Ranger? Like, do they have a special skill?
Yeah, it's part of the USASOC Special Operations. So it was a regiment of 3 different. Look at me, camo. That was my last mission in Iraq before I got out of the Army, and I camoed up like I was in the movies, just as a joke.
I don't think that green is dark enough.
Well, I mean, we were in the desert, so the green was pointless, and it was at night, so it was just a joke. It was just me clowning around last night in Aramati before I left on my flight home for good. Yeah, Special Operations Group has a selection. You have to go through Ranger School and this selection in order to be in any leadership in Ranger Battalion.
And it's in all the guys you roll with are Rangers. You're not like, it's not just one Ranger and then 10 other dudes.
Oh, we had other dudes. We didn't have any regular Army. Oh, there's my son when he's little. We would roll with like Air Force JTACs. We would roll with FBI HRT guys. We would be attached sometimes to SEALs or I'm trying to think of the right words to call them that aren't maybe still OPSEC. Delta Force. So we would attach to those guys. We mixed,
right. But you're not like a Ranger is a kind of soldier. It's not like when I think of like, I don't know, maybe I'm just showing my ignorance, but I think if there's a team of 20 guys, there's one guy that's like the radio and one guy that's the medic and one guy that's the blah, blah. But they were still considered Rangers.
Oh yeah, they had to go through all the same selections we did.
Okay. So it's so it's like a SEAL in terms of like there is a SEAL who's running the radio, but they were all still SEALs. So it's all just
same
Rangers.
concept.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what did the Army have a special use for those guys?
Yeah,
or was there supposed to be a special use for those guys?
So during GWAT, our special use was just breaching doors and balling people up at night. So you
would go by helicopter?
It depended on where we were. Sometimes we would do vehicles early on, like we would just run jammers to try and keep cell phone IEDs from blowing our cars up, and we'd ride around at night and drive under IR so nobody could see us, and we'd ride in Panders because they were a little bit more built up. But mostly near the end of like the last couple of years I was in, we only flew. It's just safer. So we would fly in and we would land a couple kilometers away, and then we would quietly walk on to the objective. And we would ball guys up without ever waking them up. We would they'd be shaken awake with a muzzle in their face, and we would zip time and take them home.
Oh, no shit.
Safer that way. Much safer, yeah. I mean, you can blow doors and run in and fill in hostage rescue style, but people get shot doing that, so we stopped.
Did you take guys who needed to be questioned, or did you take guys who were just bad guys and need to be put in jail? Or yes?
Yes.
All that, yeah. Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, we were mostly rounding up Al Qaeda cells. If you remember the old, there was like a lot of stuff in the news about chlorine gas bombs in like 2007. Like we spent my whole deployment chasing those guys down. We finally found them.
The guys who are making that and doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't bring them back. They stay, right?
Yeah, I doubt they saw freedom again.
Right.
They're probably in Guantanamo Bay getting their picture taken by National Guard soldiers.
Oh, you think that you guys actually captured them? I was thinking that those guys just got killed.
Oh, no, we would bring guys back and interrogate them and then send them off to be processed and hand them over to the regular Army.
Crazy. Tell me about I do want to ask you more. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the God thing. I want to come back to it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I understand it. I just wish I could articulate it better. I want to come back to it about how everyone has a God. So like, be careful what you put in that spot.
Yep.
Like, even if you don't like, people are like, fuck God. Like, there's no God. That's silly. But like, hey, dude, like, you better stick one in there. Even if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the one in the sky, you better stick that one in there, or else you're going to get fucking Don Lemon. And you're not even going to know you have Don Lemon, and you're going to be fucked. Like, so, but I want to come back to that. Tell me about the NSCA case about, like I know nothing about it, about the very first, about how you got the ball rolling, like with when you called William Kramer and all that.
Yeah, I think it started when I saw this study got pre-published and people were already writing about it in headlines. Study shows CrossFit dangerous. And
And what is the
basically,
NSCA? What did that stand for?
the NSCA is a National Strength and Conditioning Association.
Okay.
And then I can't remember if I think I Facebook messaged or something, the owner of the gym so I found out where the study took place and found the gym where they had done the data collection and the workouts. And I called up the owner. I was like, hey, what's going on? This is weird. Like, I don't think CrossFit hurts people like this. Are you doing something weird, or did something happen in this study? And he was like, yeah, it's complete crap. They made it up. And so that sent me down a rabbit trail of finding the study coordinator, interviewing her, recording that interview. She claimed basically that there were a handful of people who didn't show up at the final test stage of the study, and so they had no data on them. And those people were then marked by the study's author as having claimed to have been injured. And so I interviewed the corresponding author of this study, and I did it in the CrossFit offices in Santa Cruz. I recorded it on my phone, and I asked him a bunch of questions about it, and he was pretty quick to say, yeah, but obviously coaching quality or type of movement, something's dangerous here, because look at this, 13% of people got injured. And I was like, yeah, hey, about that. How did you know they got injured? And he said, well, they told us when they came to the lab that they couldn't complete it because they were injured or they'd had overuse injuries. I was like, yeah, but you said 5 or 6 of them, whatever percentage of it was, you said they didn't come to the lab. They dropped out. I was like, yeah, because they were injured. Like, well, how did you know? Like, did you do like a, hey, raise your hand if you're not here? Because if they're not at the lab, how did you gather data on them as to whether or not they were injured or not? He couldn't tell me. He was flabbergasted, started getting defensive, and got uncomfortable.
It's not even a hard question, right?
Yeah, it's just basic logic.
Like he would have been like, "Oh, dude, they you should have seen how fucked up they were. They were on their back writhing." They didn't even say that. Nothing.
The fatal flaw of this study was it purported to give injury data for people who didn't show up for data collection. Right? You can't take data on people who aren't there. And so we started pursuing this. I called.
And that was the lead author. That was the kid.
That was the corresponding author, the lead author. So his supervisor for his PhD.
Oh, that's who you were. Why didn't you? What was his name?
Stephen Dever. I've never figured out how to say his name.
Oh, so he wasn't the actual author. He was the
supervising. He was an author. Like, his name was on the paper. But you know how that stuff works in academia. Like, you get your name on whatever you can get your name on. Okay. But he oversaw the study because he was Mike Smith's PhD supervisor.
Okay.
So we started investigating. We were super.
What these people look like when we talk about them? Can you see their face in your head? Like,
yeah, Steven was like a skinny triathlete-looking bald guy. Kind of had like a.
Yes, he used to write for Outside Magazine. Did he?
He has that look. Yeah, he has that look.
God.
So we felt pretty confident about this, and so I called the NSCA's journal. I called their journal and got William Kramer, the editor-in-chief of the journal, on the phone. And I let him know, hey, we're pretty sure this is all fabricated injury data. You should probably look into it. These are allegations of fraud. Like,
you called the editor of the journal, the NSCA's journal. You called him, William Kramer.
I'm on the phone, had the phone record documented just to be sure. Gave him notice, and he said, yeah, we're not interested. They didn't do anything.
Like, you're like, hey, what's up? Did you tell him I'm Russell Berger from CrossFit?
I don't remember if I gave him my name or not. Okay. I don't know that he asked.
Okay.
But I definitely shared with him all the data, and I told him that we'd interviewed people who were involved, and there were some.
I just remembered something about you. When you were a ranger, you were an interrogator.
Yeah, like, not formally. I did some courses with an old CIA spook who came to Ranger Battalion and taught us how to interrogate people. And so I also spoke Iraqi dialect Arabic because I went through this language school. And so they would just use me on the fly. Like, I was a shooter, but like, we'd clear a building and they'd be like, hey, Berger, come ask this guy where he works. So not like
Habibi, come.
Yeah.
Habibi. Okay. So you call Kramer and you're like, hey, they don't actually have injury data. Can you look into it? And he said, eat a dick.
Yeah, that's a good Cliff Notes summary, actually.
That's crazy. Okay.
That's about how it went down.
So then what happens?
So then we sued him.
Oh, by the way, so this is the thing. This is like, he doesn't understand what we're saying. God is fake. Like, he doesn't understand, like, we're not talking about whether God, dude, we're not talking about whether God is real or not. That's what I mean. I don't think people get what we're talking about.
So here's the thing. What's his name? David Weed? David Weed knows God exists.
He does?
Yeah. Yeah, there is no such thing as a person who doesn't know God exists.
Oh, interesting. Okay, go on.
So remember we talked about God imprints moral standards on his heart. He shows us something about moral reality so that every person knows to some extent that there is a right and there is a wrong.
Right.
Well, he also does that for us, showing his own existence. So there's a book in the New Testament. It's a letter to the church in Rome. So people call it Romans. It's actually on this poster behind me. So Romans talks about this, and the author of Romans says God has made himself clear both in creation, so in the way the world is obviously designed and ordered by a creator, and he's made himself clear by his imprinting on us. So we're image bearers of God, and we can't escape that. So we know moral right and wrong. That knowledge is corrupted, obviously. But we also, in our hearts, recognize God as our creator. And so somebody who says, I don't believe in God, they're suppressing that truth, Scripture says. Like, imagine like a beach ball in a pool. You know how it wants to float, but you've got to actively like hold it down to keep it underwater?
Yeah, that's fun. I like that game.
They're suppressing their innate knowledge of God because they don't want him to be real. They want to reject him so that they can do what they want to do. They want to worship idols. They want to sin and live in sin and live for themselves.
Let me go back to this other thing, though. Two things. One, I don't think that's what we were talking about, but it was nice of you kind of well, it was nice of you to come down. I think we were talking about I want to say that we swam upstream from it. Like, hey, as a human being, if you don't believe in, there is a place in you that it does have a moral code and you can fuck with it. And so if you're not sure what the right moral code is, be careful. Don't just not choose anything and say it's not real, because one will be in there and you won't be conscious of it. There is a moral code in us. And do you want it from Don Lemon and CNN, or do you want it from God? But like, even if you don't know which one's real, you better pick wisely, right? Because one of them ends up with someone getting their penis chopped off, and one of them ends up with like you helping your neighbor change their tire. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Point.
My
point is everyone knows God exists, and so they either recognize that or they find some other God to worship. They make a God.
I mean, he doesn't realize that.
Yeah, he's made a God of his own imagination, who I guarantee believes all the same things he believes, approves of all the things he wants to do, and disapproves of all the things he doesn't approve of. He's made a God in his own image, and he won't call it a God. He doesn't believe it's a supernatural deity. But, somebody like David is going to say, oh, yeah, I know it's right because of nature or my reason or my empathy. Like, those are just words for his God that he's made up.
I seriously don't think he understands.
No, it's self-deception, and so you can't really expect too much understanding from somebody like that.
Satyam Yaha. Oh,
good try.
What's up, Satyam? You can't have a J and an H next to each other. I don't know if you can do that, dude.
Hey, you know what?
Can you do that in the Bible? Is there any rules about two consonants next to each other?
Leviticus 19, you shall have no consonant names without vowels.
Do you believe in Robert Bigelow Aerospace Company, who did partnership with NASA, and he claims that Skinwalker Ranch has ghosts and they presented proof? What's Skinwalker?
Oh, dude, we could have a whole episode on this. So check this out.
Do you know what he's talking about?
My daughter has tripped on this stuff. She's super smart for a 15-year-old girl. She's reading RFK's book.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will go back to NSCA, just so you know. We will go back.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll go back. Okay.
So my daughter's reading like RFK's book on the Wuhan cover-up. She gets really interested in things and researches them. She researched Skinwalker Ranch and knows like every detail about it. It's this place, like this ranch that's got all these weird paranormal things going on, ghosts and UFOs and skinwalker beings. I can't remember. I feel like Utah or no, Wyoming. One of those rectangular states in the Midwest.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, Skinwalker.
Where is it? I can't read. That's too small.
It says you. Oh, sorry. And Utah County, Utah.
Yeah.
Utah County, Utah. But they
if you want the too long didn't read version, it's just demons. It's just evil spirits messing with people who become fixated and fascinated on that stuff.
Oh, so you do think there's something going on there?
Oh yeah, it's pretty well documented. It's pretty hard to argue materialistically, like all there is in the universe is matter and time and chance, and see some of the stuff those guys have produced.
I don't know.
But if you're a Christian, you got a worldview that already makes sense of that, right? There are spirits and principalities and powers that operate in a realm we can't see, and sometimes they break through just to mess with people who like to stand in the desert with video cameras.
I had a UFO guy on, and
did you? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, he wrote a book, The UFO of God. He thinks that UFOs are basically, I mean, I'm summing it up, but the whole alien thing is just angels and shit like that it can all be explained by the Bible, right?
Which is different.
What?
It sounds different than what I'm saying, just to be clear.
Okay, yeah. Well, your shit is incorporated into the Bible too. Yours is demons. His is like he got angels. He got.
That doesn't sound good.
Oh yeah, this one, UFO of God.
Yeah, it sounds wacky.
It's just crazy when people try to say that there's proof of shit, and then I'm looking at the proof, and I just struggle because like he's showing me pictures and shit, and I'm just like, that's for some reason that's not enough for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's kind of by design, right? Like Elon Musk is like, hey, the reason I know UFOs aren't real is because our technologies have gotten vastly better, and the pictures are all still grainy and out of focus. I think the whole purpose of evil spirits, demons, higher powers, whatever you want to call them, Nephilim, I think the purpose of them interacting with us like that is just to get our attention and make us fixated on these false views of reality. Like, so
I don't believe in those. I don't believe in those either, by the way.
You believe in what?
I don't believe in demons. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any.
Yeah. Do you believe in God?
No.
Okay. So it's all part of the same materialism for you.
Like I don't.
There's just time and chance and matter. There's no spiritual realm. There's no beings outside.
No, there's shit that I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I just don't believe in I don't believe red actually means stop, but I think like it's good that we all agree on it.
Well, that's not what you told me earlier.
What did I tell you earlier?
Well, I asked you where you think we get human rights, which is sort of a moral question too, right? So we could reframe it like instead of red means stop, we could say killing babies is evil. You don't think it's evil. You think it's evil because everybody agrees it's evil, or you think it's evil because of something objectively true outside of what we think about it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something that I'm not sure about. But I don't believe in evil either.
Do you think abortion is evil?
No.
Then what's wrong with it?
I don't know. It's just wrong. Like you should not do that. You should not kill babies.
Is wrong a synonym for evil?
Maybe. I don't know. I just don't. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I'm open to it. I just think evil is intellectually lazy. Just like saying God. Just like I think saying God is fake is intellectually lazy.
I think I see what you're saying. Like you could use labels like evil in a way that's just kind of sloppy.
Yeah, I hear it used all the time.
To like make a rhetorical argument sound good. Yeah,
right.
I hear that. But I think you know that abortion is not just wrong because of some social agreement.
No.
Or because of pragmatism. It's wrong because of something inherent and outside of what anyone thinks about it.
I don't want to live in a world where it's okay to kill babies. Like the general, like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Like just like I don't want to live in I just don't want to live in a world where it's okay. Here's the thing also, what I think is worse than killing babies is justifying it.
I mean,
that baby would grow up poor anyway. We would have more crime if we let everyone have their babies. I'm just like, fuck,
It's
dude.
wild.
I don't want to go. Like that to me is like Epstein Island shit. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to be involved in a conversation where you're justifying doing fucking horrible shit.
You know who doesn't do that?
Who?
The women at the abortion clinic. So I've done some work outside of an abortion clinic here in Alabama where women would be going in. I'd just be like, hey, can you talk to me for a minute? Can I talk you out of killing your baby? Like, I will adopt your child. Just let's have a second to talk. And the women who go to the abortion clinic will tell you, no, I'm here to kill a baby. And it's because I want to. They don't say like, yeah, it's not a baby. It's just a clump of cells. They don't say like, yeah, this is just my reproductive choice. I'm just doing something good for society. That all of those ridiculous arguments, that you just see that stuff online. You see that from people who aren't part of the process. The women who are going into the abortion clinic, in my experience, seem to know exactly what's going on.
So then they're devastated the rest of their life, like, right? Because they have to live with that.
I mean, sadly,
they must
that's
act
what
out in
happens.
crazy ways. That leads to drug use, drinking, fucking just doing other crazy shit.
Yeah,
no one's ever at peace. Like you don't come at peace with it. Well, unless you face. I guess you could have to face it head on. What?
Yeah, you don't walk away from that without serious, and I think correct, shame and guilt. And one time when I was talking to women, one of them was coming out of the abortion clinic, and I said, hey, I know what you just did, and I know you're going to feel bad about it, and I want you to know that you don't have to continue to live in shame and guilt. There is forgiveness for you for this terrible thing you did in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And she pulled a gun on me and threatened to kill me.
No shit.
Yeah, but and what that shows, like, okay, think of your commenter a second ago. God's fake.
That's a crazy story. Do you have that on video by any chance?
No, I probably should have for legal reasons, but no, I didn't have anything. So your last commenter, God's fake. What's the big deal? You don't pull a gun on somebody because they're saying some fake, silly belief. Like, she knew I was right, that she was deeply ashamed and felt deep guilt for killing her child. And she just refused to acknowledge it, to the point that all that rage and all that anger at what she did in her own heart, she just poured it out towards me. And it's sad. It's deeply sad. And I mean, I feel really bad for women who've done that and have to live with that and don't know how. Don't
have a recourse of processing it.
Yeah.
Look at Satyam again. Okay, here we go. Stephen Hawking said, he didn't say it, his computer said it, but details, schmetails. Stephen Hawking said,
did he say this from Epstein Island?
Stephen,
the view is great here.
Stephen Hawking said, before Big Bang, no time was there, so God can't exist.
Yeah, cool story.
But Michio Kaku said it's wrong because time is the fourth dimension of string theory out of 11, so it can't be absolute.
These are two different religions with competing creation narratives that I'm just not interested in.
Wow.
Hey, we're all over the place. Weren't we talking about the NSCA?
Yeah. This show, I love this show. God, and I'm so excited. I'm so stimulated right now. I'm like just self-stimming. This is like just public intellectual masturbation for me.
Definitely.
Hi, Andrew.
And I wanted to talk about the Putin interview. So we don't.
Yeah. We're gonna have to
We should maybe plan for another episode someday.
Yeah. We should do it sooner. Is it hard for you to get time?
No, not at all.
Oh, and you have your own podcast.
Yeah, kind of. It's not it's like a hobby podcast, so I publish stuff like a couple weeks in a row and then it'll go away for a while. I'd like to do it more regularly. It's all theology.
Yeah, I like theology. Caleb, how much money is this guy sending us? What is that? Is that like 6 cents or what is that? What country? Can you tell me? Oh man, you kicked Berger to the curb. What a dick move. That's $3. That's $3. You already looked.
It's amazing. You're over here like, I got to show this guy's comments. Look at these.
I pay Caleb in 1% of all the money that's donated. So he's like he calculates every piece.
What is that, like 200 rupees?
Satyam Jaha. Thank you, by the way. I don't mean to it's just funny, but I love your money. Thank you. Please keep sending it. Do you know that the CIA official reports says that quantum physics can prove spirituality and occult, and scientists proved it, and CIA released a report on it named CIA Gateway Process. Open it now. For $3? Oh, look at Caleb. Caleb's like, yeah, keep sending it. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's Russell's buddies who did it from the Army. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, thank you for anyone. Tanya Bowers. God loves you and forgives.
Amen.
All right. All right. So just to, I want to come back to that, Steve, but just to put a bow on it. So when someone also, in a practical sense, when someone says God is fake, then that's their God. Basically, their God is. But I also liked what you said about you know what's right and wrong inside of you, and so how do you know that? And whatever your answer is, that's your God. So if it's CNN told you, or you think you just came up with it yourself, then you're your own God. But like I'm trying to define God.
Yeah.
And what you're saying
that's not
is, go ahead.
That's not my idea. That's what the Bible teaches.
Right. Okay.
It's true.
The Bible teaches it, but for me, that's not enough that the Bible teaches it. It's also you have awareness of it.
Sure, and your experience of it. Right? You see people doing it.
Bear with me here. I see people stop at the red light, but I also know that that's not true. It doesn't mean stop. It's ascribed to that so that we don't get in car accidents. It's just a practical delusion we practice.
It's called a social construct.
A social construct.
It's like what some people would want us to think gender is.
Right.
Except it's real now. It's a red light is really a social construct.
But the red light is real.
Yeah.
The ideas behind it aren't, and that I'm cool with that. And so some people have conflated. But what I'm saying is, do you have awareness of God like you have awareness that the light is red, or do you just ascribe to? Or are you just maybe have you been tricked and someone told you it means red, or red means stop, and so you believe that as real?
Are you asking me personally, or what?
You personally. Russell Berger.
Yeah, I have an awareness of God's existence that's as clear as me seeing a red light. Like,
okay,
it's real.
Sevi Russell and Hopper talk Putin. Sousa scheduled it. Sevi Russell, and oh shit. Oh, Jason Hopper. Oh wow. Oh, that would be fun. You don't know who Jason Hopper is?
Yeah, I've seen him on your show. Oh,
you have? Okay. Yeah. The other day, yesterday, he called into the show and he was just on the bike and pedaling, doing some zone 2. And he's like, hey, what about that Putin interview that's coming up? And I'm like, I thought this dude just like read the back of boxes of cereal. I was so excited. I totally misjudged him.
So
I need to donate just because I feel bad for this guy, Russell. Good luck to you. I pray you find some facts in your life someday.
Who's he
but
praying
Russell doesn't even get that money. I get it.
Who's he praying
to? Okay. So what were you going to say? Something?
I don't know. I think I was trying to say, like, the fact that we know, so people who would say like all morality is just social constructs. People who say killing a baby, murder, theft, the only reason any of that is wrong is just because our society just agrees it's wrong.
Right.
That's self-deception. And nobody really believes that. Right? Talk to anybody who says they think that, and then ask them like, okay, well, what if we in society just all agree that people who look like you and have your fingerprints and DNA are subhuman? Can we kill you? Oh, no, that would be wrong. Right? Like it's just a thought experiment. As soon as you start trying to act like morality is nothing but social contracts and illusions of social consensus, you actually lose the meaning of what morality is and what everyone knows morality to be. Like things are wrong or things are right, regardless of what any amount of people think of them. And you can ask somebody like that, hey, was it cool in Nazi Germany for the Germans to kill the Jews? Because pretty much everybody agreed, the majority agreed that Jews were subhuman. sounds like based on the social contract theory of morality, that it was morally acceptable for them to do that. They'll say, oh, no,
Right.
it wasn't.
Right.
Like, it's just not a real view. Nobody really thinks that. And the fact that they don't think that shows that they know there is a lawgiver, there is a moral power who gives us, and we're obligated to obey certain things that are right and wrong. They're showing their knowledge of God.
But Russell, why can't those people, let me ask you this. Why spend, fuck, I got to go in 5 minutes. Why do those people care to argue? Like, I used to argue that God doesn't exist too. And then I realized, I guess I don't know why I did that, but now I see like the incredible value God has. Like, even if I'm not a believer, why can't they see that? Like, why can't they see, like, I see it like so, it's such a high functioning tool to keep human beings involved in. I mean, they point to all the like silly they'll be like, but the Catholic Church molests kids, or this war happened because of this. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but like, we're not beheading women in the street. We're not trying to normalize pedophilia. We're not beheading kids. We have clean running water. Like, how come they can't just plug it in? Oh, hold on a second. Hey, dude, I'm on the podcast with Berger. Can I call you back?
Yeah, fuck. I should have listened and called in.
Hey, do you want to do a show? Me and you and Russell talk about the Putin interview?
Yeah, maybe, sure.
All right. I love you. I'll call you soon.
Okay.
Bye. Just that's me. Just like the same way you got a tattoo to show off, I answer just to show off.
All right, I like that. Good flex.
Thank you. Why can't they do that? Why can't they just be like, why not just plug it in because it works?
I think they do. A lot of them. So like, look at
like these guys in the comments, like they're interested in saying God isn't real, but like, who cares if, like, I don't care anymore if God is real or not. I'm not, it's not about me anymore.
So I think people who take it like a hobby to argue God doesn't exist, a lot of that's just self-justification. Like they're really just trying to prove it to themselves. But it's wild to see, like, there are a whole bunch of famous atheists and secularists who were for many years like railing against Christianity, who have kind of found they have allies with a lot of Christians now because they've rejected the wild swing towards progressivism that the rest of the world is running after. So that, you find yourself arguing things like, yeah, actually there's only two genders and it's rooted in biology. And suddenly you're in the conservative Christian camp, right? So guys like Richard Dawkins, he's a famous atheist, is arguing views very similar to what a lot of Christians have been arguing for decades. And
why do you use the word gender?
Because that's the word they use. They'll say there's more than one gender.
But when I think of, for me, there's two sexes and there's multiple genders. Just like there's multiple iterations of the Sasquatch or Godzilla, right? Like, depending on which movie you see, Godzilla can do different shit, right? Some he can shoot fire, some he shoots electricity, some he's different sizes. There's no continuity in it. It's just imagination. I think of gender as the imagination word, and sex is like the sex is the stoplight is red. Gender it means stop. You know what I mean? It's just bullshit. But like, to me, the word gender is just imagination. But for you, you use it like it's real.
Been changed. No. I'm using that word the way that somebody who would argue for the idea that gender is a spectrum.
Yeah.
I'm using it the way they would use it, which I think is incorrect. So gender is so like we have gendered language.
Yeah.
Right?
Social contract, just made up shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way of expressing the binary of sex without referring to a physical human being.
Right.
So like his and hers, that's gendered language. Actor, actress, that's gendered language. The idea that gender refers to some spectrum of different psychological states that are only measurable in the mind of the person who feels them, that's just nonsense. That's postmodern nonsense.
That's the way I use it. I use it like so if someone asked me what my gender is, I'd be like, I don't have a gender. Why would I even have a gender? Why the fuck would I, like, I'm not choosing that shit. Remember Greg used to use the example of like the fake cowboy versus the real cowboy? You remember that? Like, hey, the cowboy doesn't get up in the morning and put on chaps because he's trying to look like a cowboy. He puts on chaps so that when he's riding his horse, fucking branches don't fucking cut up his legs. He doesn't have spurs to look like a cowboy. So like, I'm not doing anything to convey my sex.
Yeah.
I'm not waking up in the morning like, I mean, I did buy a Milwaukee tool bench and fill it with camera gear instead of tools. But I was young and
it's the little things that counteracts the man bun.
I walk around the house with a saw, but I don't have a battery for it. Battery. You think
you have to ask your wife how to use it?
Do you have any battery operated tools?
Just a drill.
Okay, yeah. Oh, fuck. Satyam, I'm agnostic and running a scientific spiritual research program in India. Scientific spiritual research to prove God through science. Russell, would you like to join my spirituality beyond religion community? You know what's funny is
join it in spirit.
I would think this is a crazy joke, except for the fact of just like, look where the money's coming from.
Yeah, he seems serious.
Is this guy CrossFitter, Satyam?
Beats me.
Okay, let's finish here. Wow, that was a fast 90 minutes. The NSCA case, weren't you on the phone with, I feel like, I can't tell if I'm making this, but I feel like I was outside your office looking in the window one time and you were actually on the phone with,
it's probably Deaver.
With William. Oh, was it?
Yeah, I did that interview for like an hour in a side office in Scotts Valley.
And didn't you catch him saying some crazy shit? I thought it was William Kramer you caught saying some crazy shit.
No, that was we caught all of them saying some crazy stuff in the discovery in the lawsuit. But Stephen Deaver was caught in a lie trying to say that he measured the injuries of people who didn't show up for measurement. And that's how he knew they didn't show up for measurement. Just logically incoherent. And he couldn't answer it, and he started stumbling over his words and getting uncomfortable, and then he suddenly had to go. That interview is still transcribed, I think, in the CrossFit Journal.
God, can you believe the CrossFit Journal is just like, check this out. I don't want to say that we had some huge success with it too, but the 15,000 affiliates all have to have a journal link on there, and that's never been utilized.
Yeah.
Do you want to see something just really crazy? Look at this. Okay, I'll have Caleb do it. Caleb, type in will you go to YouTube? Will you open up a YouTube page? And then just type in the word CrossFit. Do you remember when we used to rule YouTube?
It's
like
bad.
we owned YouTube and Google. Dude, you'd be so sad. All that hard work is just so.
Believe me, I didn't. I have some thoughts on why that is.
Buttery Bros, Sevan Podcast. Look, Sevan Podcast. Oh, there's one. Holy shit, there's one. So 1 hour ago. Interesting. Okay, keep going. Andrew Hiller, CrossFit Games, Kettlebells and Cocktails, Jake Douglas, Smart Gear, Training Think Tank, RP Performance, the CrossFit Podcast. There's the placeholder for CrossFit, but sometimes I'll type it in and you'll scroll down 50 spots and you will not see a fucking CrossFit video. Look at all the other people who dominate the space now. Hiller, Justin Medeiros. I mean, they've completely lost the control of the largest search engine on the internet.
You think that's on purpose?
No, I don't, but I think you do. You think Coke bought CrossFit or the beverage association? You think they?
I have some theories.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Russell Berger. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'm going to the skate park. I know everyone hates me for that. Russell, I fucking love you. This is better than I thought. Did you have fun?
I did. I miss you. I'm glad we got to do this.
Good. It means a lot to me that you'd come on my show. All right.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm going to go work out now.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go sit in a van for an hour and drive over the hill, take my kids skateboarding. Watch my T count drop. All right, brother. I'll be in touch. Let's do this again soon.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
Later, brother. Russell Berger. Holy shit, guys. Holy, what a treat. Did I fuck that up, Caleb?
No.
Like I made us small. How do I make us big?
Oh.
No?
There.
How do you do that?
It's the fourth layout. Two
Oh.
people.
Wow. Do you like him?
Yeah, he's cool.
Russell, in my community, our research collects all good and common thing from all religions so that we can prove spirituality through science. I am Hindu religion. I follow all religions' spirituality. Base morality is present. Trevor Gentry. Base morality is present in every human being that is born since the beginning of time. Does society and culture impact that base morality and development? Absolutely. I think that's what Russell was calling corrupt, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Sevan, why does Don go on the Cock and Balls Front Tails podcast but won't come on your podcast? I shouldn't say he wouldn't come on my podcast. The last 2 times I invited him, he said to circle back around, and I did. And I wouldn't say. I think maybe just the timing was off. I don't know. I think John Woolley actually did a pretty fucking amazing job. I do not think Nikki. Do not think Nikki did an amazing job. I've said everything I need to say about that. I don't want to be mean to those guys, to Nikki or John. I'm glad they did it. I listened to some stuff. There's so many takeaways in there that were interesting to me. I do think there's a bunch of shit in there that I think that Don said that I personally don't believe he means sincerely. And then there's a bunch of stuff in there that I'm very thankful that he is transparent about. So, but they have a serious media problem that they're not paying attention to, and it's getting worse every second. Every second, it's getting worse and worse and worse. I suspect financially that there may be past the point of return media wise. So I'm curious how they're going to steer the thing. I do see that his leadership, from watching that interview, his leadership seems stronger than ever. So I was happy about that, and I'm happy about the games, and I'm not nostalgic about the past anymore. I'm kind of past all that. So at least I think, unless I'm in denial. But I like Don. I'm like, yeah, I like him. Trevor Gentry, it's so fun to talk about this. Everyone needs to wrestle with the idea of God, and if they do it honestly, at worst, they will be agnostic. Pure atheism is completely illogical and irrational. Well, here's the thing where I'm trying to take the conversation. There is no such thing as atheism. It's word fuckery. It's like saying you don't have a mouth. Like if I say, what's in your mouth? And you say you don't have a mouth. I think the way we operate, we all have a religion. And that's what's unsettling about the fact that people who say that they're not religious, because then they are, and they're not conscious of what they've put in that to plug in as that placeholder. And that's the part that's a little unsettling for me, that I'm starting to get my head wrapped around. Whether it's unsettling or not, it's just not a fun way to live your life. My life's so much, how much cooler is my life than this dude's life?
Exponentially.
Yeah. And one of the ways it's like that is because I'm open to that kind of stuff. Like I don't have to be. I'm open. Oh, I wanted to show you just one quick thing. Also, can you pull up Keith Knapp's Instagram? Shit, my wife's gonna kill me. I'm coming. We pull up Keith Knapp's Instagram. I'm coming. This is the guy. Can you play his last video? This is the guy yesterday that was fired from CrossFit. He's opening up a CrossFit gym. He's in the space. It must be weird for him, right? You're the director of marketing, and then you get fired while you're opening a gym. But anyway, let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
What's up, guys? I have received so many calls and texts over the past day and a half that I had to say something. That yesterday my role at CrossFit HQ was eliminated. Most of the calls and texts I have been getting are asking what happened. I was just made aware that the position that I was in was no longer needed, and it hurts. I have believed in this thing since 2008 when I did my first CrossFit workout, and I still believe in it today. I believe that CrossFit is the cure to the world's most vexing problem. It's why I'm opening an affiliate. I'm so blessed to have the community of people around me, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm also a little bit scared. I've got a wife, I've got 4 beautiful kids. The best thing that I know how to do is to just work. I have so many people that I worked with there that were like brothers and sisters that I love dearly, and that I'm so grateful to have known and to have worked with. Wish them all the best of luck. I wish everybody on the leadership team the best of luck. All I want to see for CrossFit is absolute success. This role that I have was a dream job. I'm devastated and heartbroken, but I'm picking up the pieces. The number of people who've reached out and said they're praying for me and my family is just overwhelming. I thank you guys so much again for listening, for being a part of this journey with me, and I love you. What's up, guys?
Keith Knapp, he'll be having his grand opening soon. You'll be hearing us talk more about his grand opening. Just so you know, when I got fired, he said a lot of people called him and texted him. I can't think of anyone that called me and texted me. I think like one person. Nobody. Like, fuck you, dirtbag. Satyam. Sevan, do you know that religion can explain transgender people more good because the transgender woman told she is female soul in a male body, so you should treat transgender women as women? Satyam. Only confused people make decisions, my brother. Only confused people make decisions. That's it. Path to God. Love you. Bye. Caleb, thanks, dude.